the last episode, we talked about how the reptilians and humans ended up on Earth and the war that we have been a part of for not just our lifetime, but our previous lifetimes as well. We're trapped here on Earth and are kept stupid so that we won't learn that our souls will be the key to freeing us from our reptilian overlords. Because the reptilians currently have control over us, they kidnap us and force us to be a part of their armies. However, when they're finished with us, they wipe our memories and plop us back in time to the exact moment they kidnapped us, so it's as if we were never really gone. Today, we will be continuing our discussion on the secret space program and what service in the SSP is like. Welcome to Strange Ride, where I tell the smartest man I know the weirdest things I know. My name is Savannah Barrett, and I will be your guide today. But you're not the only ones going on this journey. I have Luke Kinnaman here, and then, of course, we have the smartest man I know, Rob C. Thompson of Occult Confessions fame. Now, I will admit, they are currently not here with me recording at the moment. This is a post-intro, because we weren't sure that this was going to be a 2-episode thing. So, unfortunately, they are not here with me right as I'm recording this, but they will be with us in just a few moments. So, let's get this ride started. I solemnly commit myself to keep my hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the vehicle at all times while on this strange ride.
The people who can unlock these memories and then bravely share it with the world have become known as whistleblowers, and two of the most famous in the community are Randy Kramer, or Captain Randy Kramer, sorry, Captain, and James Rink. They were both super soldiers at one point and have shared their stories. James Rink, in particular, would be considered a MILAB, which is short for military abductee, because he wasn't created by the reptilians, he was kidnapped by them. Captain Randy Kramer is extra special because he was created by the reptilians, and according to the book, is one of the very few examples of prenatal recruitment. Because he was created to be a super soldier and didn't have to go through MK Ultra mind control or trauma-based mind control, he was stronger than the rest of his fellow soldiers. And anyone who knows him would definitely agree with that assessment, says the book.
Wow. Okay, let's put a pin in that. So much to unpack here. First of all, there are now multiple guys who believe in this, yes?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Now, I did try to find the first person who was a whistleblower for this, and there wasn't a definitive answer, but as far as your cult leaders go, it's Captain Randy Kramer and a man named Corey Good.
And all of these people believe this is true independent of each other, or they read the book and then they said, oh, that's me? Let me say it this way, because let me put it to you another way. So you're talking about one area of research that I'm way into, which is trauma-based mind control, because Kathy O'Brien and all the sex slaves of the CIA and the Project Monarch, of the 1990s, those guys, I mean, that's what he means. When he's saying trauma-based mind control, he's directly referencing Kathy O'Brien. She invented that idea, not her personally, but from the 70s on up, that this idea developed, and these were the women in the 90s who encapsulated it. And what it implies is that you have an alternate dissociated identity that you have forgotten, which is getting to your thing, right? That you were talking about. We could all be, wake up with a $1.50. And these guys, all these, right? So I assume that Captain Randy, is that his name?
Yep.
Captain Randy, like Randy Quaid in Independence Day. Captain Randy has dissociated from this personality, but now he has, through hypnosis or therapy, recalled it, and that has brought him back. Okay.
Yes, but also he didn't dissociate from it because the reptilians force you to forget it. They wipe your memory.
But it's in there somewhere if somehow it can be called up again. This is also true of Kathy O'Brien. So the mind-controlled sex slaves of the 90s, who are a completely different group, but this guy is tapping into them. They didn't want to forget. They were forced to forget by the government. The programming itself caused them to forget.
Gotcha. Oh, okay.
And then the hypnotist, usually their husband or boyfriend, recalled the memory for them.
Yeah. Except I think in these circumstances, like Captain Randy Kramer, he didn't have like somebody helping him recall it. Like he just recalled it.
Like he picked up the book. Sense. He picked up Darkfleet and he was like, whoa, that happened to me.
Everything just floods back?
No, I think Darkfleet came much after. I
Oh.
think like this book came out much after any of that stuff. Like I think what came first was the whistleblowers, like these guys, Captain Randy Kramer and Corey Good, being like, I was a part of the secret space program, and that there are reptilians out there who are keeping us trapped here on Earth.
How did they find each other?
I can't tell you. They just sort of feel like they appeared out of nowhere, and they somehow managed to get a following. I genuinely don't know. And I did try to research like them, but googling them like is you can't find like hardly any information about them. Like Corey Good at least has a website. And like you can find like a little bit more about him in particular, but Randy Kramer, it was hard finding any information about him at all. And honestly, most of the information that I feel like I got about him was from that YouTube video, and I tried to find his sources, and Oki didn't put his sources in the YouTube video. I was like, I like Oki and I trust him, but also like, where the fuck are your sources so I can also look at this shit?
So like, where is the
I
cult?
don't know where these.
Where do they meet? Like, where does the lore passed around to be able to become this book?
Well, there's YouTube channel. There's a bunch of YouTube videos, especially by James Rink and Super Soldier Talks, and they have conventions where they go and they meet each other. And then Corey Good has a website where he has like paid seminars and shit that you can like that teaches you how to advance your soul.
Okay.
So yeah, so I would say arguably like there isn't like a full blown exact cult leader, because it isn't it's a cult that isn't a cult, you know? But
I was hoping.
yes. It feels like the book mentions Corey Good a lot. It feels like if there was one specific cult leader, it would be him.
But he just at the conventions, that's where he shares the lore. He's not even really doing it online.
No, but other guys are like James Rink. Now, James Rink, he runs the Super Soldier Talks channel where he shares his own experiences, and then you can pay him $200 for him to give you like a guided meditation to help you unlock your memories of you being in the secret space program. And if he finds your story compelling enough, he will, even though you're just like a normal guy, like you're not a celebrity within the secret space program cult or anything, he will put your story on his channel. So his channel is nothing but like hours long videos of these just random people being like, yeah, I was on Mars fighting raptors and doing this, and then I was able to like turn into a bird and fly away because I had super special powers. That's what his YouTube channel is, and I think that's where most people get their lore nowadays, is from James's YouTube channel.
So, can I game the system if I, myself, a successful super soldier, continuing to find $1.50 in my pocket, make enough money that I have $200, pay the man, post my story, and hopefully get residuals from that story, and then just keep this cycle going?
It's possible. That is relatively the premise of Oki's video, but we'll get into that in a little bit. I want to tell you about their lives within the space program. So acting as if, let's stop thinking about this critically for a moment and just be like, yes, the space program is real and this is how they live their lives.
Yes.
Captain Randy Kramer is extra special because he was created by the reptilians, and according to the book, I already read all this. So sorry. Because he was literally made to be a soldier, he enlisted in the Marines at 17 years old and was deployed to the Mars Defense Force with a 20M back program, meaning he signed a contract that he would work for the Reptilian Army for 20 years and then he would be returned to where he was after those 20 years were up. On Mars, he said he wore fancy armor that kept him safe from the elements and also gave him the ability to run faster. They would fight some of the local wildlife on Mars, including giant bugs, velociraptors, and a humanoid race called reptoids. Now, the reptoids seem to just be reptilians, except they're nice. And he was apparently at one point kidnapped by some of those reptoids for 6 months. And in that 6 months, he became friends with them, and they eventually signed a treaty with them. And he lived on Mars for most of his service. And I keep saying this, but this is one of my favorite lines in the entire book. And it's describing like the technology and the conditions the Mars Defense Force lived under while on Mars.
The MDF military people eat cafeteria food at Ares Prime. They sometimes get strawberry pie with fake strawberries that taste real, but the coffee is imported from Earth, and it is excellent.
It's excellent.
Excellent. But it's like, so they can make fake strawberries that taste real, but they can't recreate coffee, so they have to import it from Earth.
Well, why would they bother with all those Nazis in South America?
Wait, huh? Hold on. What'd you say?
The Nazis. A lot of the Nazis fled to South America.
What does this have to do with that?
All the reptilians have to do is call up their Nazi buddies on Earth to ship them some coffee, right?
Oh, I got you. Yeah. I mean, maybe. I don't know.
I think Luke has something to add.
What?
No.
It's just like, why is this even a detail in the book? I wasted like probably how many 10 seconds of my life reading this sentence.
Now we've spent even more on it.
I know.
Yeah.
Why do I need to know that they were eating a strawberry pie with fake strawberries, but they taste real? What? What is this book?
Why bother importing coffee? You just import the strawberries.
Might as well.
I'm sure it's cheaper to import them to manufacture fake ones.
You're already in a conversation with the Argentinian Nazi exporter to space. You might as well just get a few more things while you're there.
You just knock out your grocery list.
Get some eggs, some milk.
And I think this is where I like truly started to lose my patience with this book, is that like there were so many things that like he said like this just off the cusp that I'm like, why did you tell me this? Like, I don't care. I don't give a shit. Although I will say that one really made me laugh a lot. I just love the line, they get strawberry pie with fake strawberries that taste real. Just like, what? Okay. So now Randy Kramer, like I said, is special and was built by the reptilians. So he didn't have to go through what most my labs do when they are abducted into the secret space program. Most other recruits are put through rigorous mind control, training, and torture. One of those methods is MK Ultra, which the book didn't care to describe to me what that was.
All right.
Rob, if you could help me out here.
I mean, the one of the methods is MK Ultra. That the phrase doesn't make any sense. No, but let me explain why. MK Ultra, many listeners I'm sure are aware, was a CIA program in the, I'm going to say late 40s, after World War II through the 70s. And the program was designed to develop ways of interrogating people through non-conventional methods, including hypnosis, etc., but most infamously the use of LSD. There was a scientist who fell out of a window or threw himself out of a window while under the influence of LSD, and I believe his family is still litigating with the government over his death, and that happened in the 60s. But what the most infamous element of MK Ultra is that at a certain point in the CIA's history, they eliminated or attempted to eliminate all of the records around MK Ultra. So it became a darling of conspiracy theory because there's literally a giant black hole in the history of what MK Ultra did. You can write your own history. You see what I mean? Because we don't have the records of MK Ultra. And I talk about this, I think, with Kathy O'Brien and a few other people, but it's so core to conspiracy thinking in America that MK Ultra happened and that they then eliminated the records. Subsequently, a Senate hearing was able to unearth about 20,000 documents that had been like misplaced and accidentally not destroyed. But still,
I hate when I accidentally misplace 20,000 documents.
And there were financial records, I think, that were recovered that were put in a business office rather than, the spy office or experimental office, whatever the hell they have over there. But there was a lot that was destroyed. So to MK Ultra someone could mean any number of things because they experimented in like 8 or 9, 10, a dozen different ways. And it involved, but here's what's another interesting thing about MK Ultra. It involved a lot of like major universities helped the CIA to work on these programs. And when I was doing my dissertation, I had to go through a special office because I worked with human subjects. I was working with people in a church, and I was interviewing them and participating in their workshops and stuff. I wasn't endangering them in any way, but that office was created because universities were not monitored in any way in the way they experimented on people until after MK Ultra. So MK Ultra in part inspired this whole system of surveillance now around academics and how we work with human subjects. Anyway,
interesting.
Yeah, fun side facts.
Yeah, that doesn't really help me understand this anymore.
I mean, at its core, to MK Ultra you, if we use it from in the American history sense, is to use unconventional methods to attempt to interrogate you.
Gotcha. But then, but they weren't interrogating them; they were trying to mind control them.
That's
honestly,
Project
I think that
Monarch
they probably
stuff.
just really like. Oh, Project Monarch is a thing in this.
Yeah, that's Project Monarch stuff. So that's Kathy O'Brien and Project
Monarch. Do you know
Monarch,
who Paul Serene is?
No.
Okay, well, you're about to learn.
Oh,
but, well, actually, let me go on my little rant here. First. So yeah, it says one of those methods was MK Ultra, which apparently is like as a torture method is not actually a torture method or whatever. Not a way to do this. But unless I completely blanked out while reading the book, which is possible because it is just so boring, it didn't actually describe any of the torture these people went through in order to become mind controlled, except for when it came to mind controlling women. Oh my gosh, you mean to tell me that conspiracy theorists are misogynistic? Well, who would have guessed? But so there is literally like an entire section in this book dedicated to how much the reptilians hate women and how much worse they need to torture them in order to like get them, I don't know, to be super psychic cyan or whatever. And that also that they just prefer torturing women more because it's more fun and the men don't need to be tortured that much. And
why?
Then it went into
what's wrong with women?
They're women. I don't know. It literally was like, it didn't tell me why. It was just like the reptilians just hate women. And and here is a very detailed description on how they torture them. And like, yeah, it was fucking awful. It was like so gross and graphic. And it to me, it felt like it just felt like see,
torture
this is
porn?
why yeah. And it was like, see, I hate. Man, I mean the reptilians hate women, or I mean females. I hate females. So this is a quote from the book. The military feel that the female MILAB's PSI abilities will be at their peak only after she has endured this kind of torture. It is noteworthy that the male MILABs are not treated with such gleeful sadism as the females. They are simply toughened up. In fact, male MILABs frequently develop a sort of camaraderie with their tormentors, in much the same way a freshman at a military school or basic trainees in the military ultimately develop gratitude toward their trainers for transforming them into hardened monsters. Yeah. And so now the mask comes off. This conspiracy theory from here follows absolutely no logic and follows the rule of cool, except if the most annoying person you've ever met was deciding what that cool was. So every whistleblower story is different from the last, and yet they are still all somehow the same. The whistleblower is the most important person in the room. They were abducted by the secret space program, trained with essentially superhuman powers and technology, and then spent God knows how many years fighting reptoids, insectoids, yetis, vampires, and whatever other monsters you can think of. And as most of you are aware, vampires are a special interest of mine, so I even tried to learn about their version of vampires and was so bored I couldn't even finish the video. It's all just buzzwords. But in the end, all of these monsters are just fodder for how awesome and badass the MILABs are while they're in their service.
But we have to put the word space in front of every monster too, right? Because they're all in space.
Yes, they're all in space.
Space vampires.
Yep.
All right, that's cool.
And like, I can't even try to romance the space vampire, so what's the point? So Oki's Oki's video, How I Infiltrated a Bizarre Conspiracy Cult, premise is that he decided he wanted to become an SSP, which is like short for Secret Space Program, whistleblower. So he concocted his own story that fit into their established lore, and he actually succeeded in becoming a whistleblower. He managed to get his story onto James Rink's YouTube channel, Super Soldier Talks, and people, including James, fully believed he was a whistleblower. And so in a sort of act of defiance and just fully reiterating how all of the whistleblower stories are complete bullshit, let me tell you what his story entailed. So at least his story was interesting. In a past life, Oki was Sasuke, the Black Samurai, and was taken and trained with other YouTubers, including Mr. Beast, in order to become unstoppable killing machines and better at spreading the reptilians' propaganda subtly. He and Mr. Beast were trained by Paul Serene, who is apparently a man who was cloned, and his clone became Kevin Spacey. And now Paul Serene is the head of Monarch, which is, I don't even know what it is, but it
That's
is the
their
way
own
you
lore.
mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, that's their own
Yeah.
lore. Monarch doesn't have a head.
Okay. Well, Paul Serene, who has a clone, and the clone became Kevin Spacey. He's the head of Monarch in this. And so Oki said that he could look at an image of someone and make their head explode, and that he had a psionic katana, and that he would use that to kill yetis and vampires. He was genetically enhanced with other alien DNA, and then when his contract was up, he was plopped back on Earth and was meant to forget everything that he did and happened to him and what happened to him. But of course, Oki's too powerful to truly forget, so he paid $200 for a meditation with James Rink where they fully unlocked his memories together. And then this is how every whistle story blower goes. There's monsters, there's aliens, and they have superpowers that may be different, but at the end of the day, every story is essentially the same thing. And then this leads me into what this conspiracy cult is truly about. It's not about helping the human race realize they're slaves or to try and better their own souls. It's all about themselves. They want to feel like the most important person in the room. And if you believe this stuff, then that's what you are. You're special because you're the only one who believes the truth. You're special because the reptilians specifically chose you because of how strong you are mentally and or physically. You're special because the mind erasing didn't work on you like it did all those other fools that are stuck in this SSP. These people want to LARP as superheroes without actually doing anything to warrant being a hero. And they're also LARPing as being victims of slave trade. I don't know. For a moment, just taking a break from my rant, I don't know why this pisses me off so much, but it does. Like, I'm so angry about this.
Is it broy? Do you think it's broy?
It feels broy, especially because, like, there are, and I will give them credit where credit is due, they prominently display women in these like whistleblower things and stuff like that. But it feels like a lot of the times like these men are talking about being these badass fucking action heroes, and then the women are talking about being sex slaves. Like, it's just, I don't. And then it also just feels so selfish to me because like these people are acting like they're these badass heroes, and they're like, yeah, we want to help save the world, but they're not actually doing anything to help the world. They just want to feel special. And that's another thing that really frustrates me about this conspiracy theory is the fact that it is so genuinely hard to find information about it that is easily accessible. I mean, the book I read, and I'll say the title again, Dark Fleet, the Secret Space Program and the Battle for the Solar System, written by Len Kasten, is so poorly written and is just word vomit. It feels like one of those people you meet who will just never stop talking because they think that if they talk louder and over everyone else, that it just makes them the smartest person in the room. And that's what this conspiracy theory is. It's a bunch of people sitting in a room screaming about how special they are and how important they are. And the lack of accessibility to their information also goes against their beliefs, because they claim that they are whistleblowers because the people of Earth need to wake up. They need to realize that they're slaves, and that if we all learn the truth, we can truly stop the reptilians. But then why aren't you shouting it from the mountaintops? Why aren't you making YouTube videos and articles that are actually at least somewhat comprehensible and could be understood by a more general audience? Why are you charging $200 to help people unlock their memories when it should be a public service? And I think I have the answer. It's because you're one of the few people with this knowledge. That's what truly makes you special. And the more people who have this knowledge, the less special you are. You maybe not be doing this on purpose, but you make all this information so bogged down that it becomes unreadable. And then you can say to everyone who gives up that they weren't ready to be woken up, or they're not smart enough to understand, or even the reptilians have too much of a hold on them. And that's kind of like, all I have to say about that. There's something about this theory that really triggered me, I guess,
It's
where
a kind of
I'm tired
nerddom,
of
though. Aren't you describing a
it
kind of
is.
nerddom, but it's a nerddom where you don't recognize that the thing you're nerding out about is fictional?
Yes. And maybe that's part of it. And also, but I like, because I hate those kind of people in fandom spaces. Like, especially as a woman, I've dealt with this my entire life where it's like, when I enter these fandom spaces, I'm told that, like, I don't know enough about it. And, like, all this, just general sexism, like, you can't like this because you're a girl and stuff like that. And I think maybe that's what's triggering me, is reading into this. I'm feeling that same broiness there, where it's like, you don't know enough about this. Like, like, we're the most special people in the room. I can't stand it. I can't stand it.
And the
Because, like,
lore is poorly articulated too, so you also take issue with the storytelling.
yes, and it's also to lean into that too. It's fucking boring. Like, so it's obviously it's all fake. It's all bullshit. Why don't you make it a fucking interesting story if it's all bullshit? What the fuck are we doing here, guys? Like, they could be making way more money, like, doing the, like, with the fucking interesting stories and shit. But I don't know. They just don't care. They just want to regurgitate their own vomit into each other's mouths and, like, be like, I'm the most special person in the room.
Do you think they know that it's bullshit? Because I believe with Project Monarch and the real women of sex slavery, government sex slavery, they believe their stories fairly sincerely.
It depends. I think that they do buy into their own bullshit at least a little bit, and I feel like you kind of have to. Oki makes a really good point at the end of his video, which totally go watch it. The journey is amazing. Watching him figure out how to write his story and then, like, get onto James's show. But he says at the end of the day, he's like, I kind of understand how charlatans work. It's like he rehearsed his story so much that when he was finally in front of James saying it, like, he felt like it was real. Like, he was able to turn off his brain and just be like, yes, this stuff actually happened to me. So I think it opens up this kind of interesting thing where it's like, these people, I think that they do buy it to a certain degree, but also there's a part of me that also is like, at the end of the night when they're going to bed, they have to realize that this is bullshit, right? Like, I don't know, or maybe that's where, like, the cultiness of it comes in. And also the fact that I feel like it's very culty in the sense that, like, it's very anti, like we were talking about this whole time. It's like it's its own religion in a sense, where it's like you don't believe in any religions, but you believe in the reptilians and that they're trying to manipulate you. And then also, like, if you try to speak out against these people, you get ousted because, like, oh, the reptilians are getting to you, like, so you're not a part of our, like, little group anymore. I feel like it has a lot of cult-like tendencies.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
mean,
now I just feel like I'm ranting.
no,
I'm sorry.
you're not. I think we're getting somewhere. I was also thinking, like, as you were talking, like, what's the harm in it? Like, if these guys were just, like, playing video games in their spare time, it sort of amounts to the same thing. But there is harm in this insofar as it gets people to give up $200 and buy into what is not just a video game, but a belief system.
Yeah. I mean, these, like, you look at the YouTube videos on these things, and these people are like, thank you so much for being brave enough to talk about this. And, like, there's people in these YouTube channels, I mean, YouTube comments that, like, believe in this fully. And they're like, I even saw a comment earlier, I wonder if I can find it, where it was like, are you telling me that, like, Jesus isn't real? And they were like, I'm still going to believe in Jesus, but this is scary. Like, shit like that. Like,
If the storytelling was better, I mean, we should almost thank them for the storytelling not being as good, but
yes.
I might suggest to you that if the storytelling was slicker, it would seem faker. We would be coding it fiction because it's reading as fiction. If it reads like a good George Lucas movie, the first 3 he made, then what do we sorry.
Yeah,
So
you're starting fighting words right now, right here, when I'm
I
all
mean,
pumped
I'm
up.
not going to argue with Rob. This is not wrong. But I get what you mean.
Oh,
If
boy.
they had that level of polish, it would make it seem more falsified.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
The word of mouth kind of exchange of everything makes it seem much more legitimate, because if you're telling someone what just happened to you, it's not something that you've practiced. I mean, you said Oki, as he continued to practice it, he from the sounds of it, he got very engrossed in his own story.
Mm-hmm.
And given that he is a content creator, I'm sure he has refined his ability to tell stories to a degree. So he's probably coming off more organically than somebody who does not. But like if I'm just telling you what's happened to me, like if I had a crazy drive home and like someone swerved because they saw a deer, and as that happened, and like another car hit the deer, and it was like crazy, and like half the deer went here and half the deer went there, and I'm frantic and I'm like all over the place, but I'm saying it in a passionate fashion, you might be more willing to believe me, you know?
That is true. It's definitely different reading the book, because I feel like with Oki and the most of the information that's available, Oki said that he watched like countless hours of James's YouTube channel, and I will admit I did not. I did not. I did not have the time to do that, or the will. I think the strength. I did try to watch some of them because I was hoping, I wanted to hear from his own mouth like what his experiences was in the secret space program. But the problem with that also I think pissed me off with this is that every single video of his is titled like super soldier talk, duh duh duh. Hold on, honestly, let me go to his YouTube channel right now. But every video is like an hour and a half long. It's not very good quality, and it's just him talking to some random guy, and you never know like what the actual topic of the video is going to be about.
Is it the
And
same guy or a different guy?
no, it's a different person every time.
Oh,
It's a different person that willingly paid $200
they're
for the
relating their story.
meditation.
Yeah. So he's never telling
Exactly.
his own story.
It doesn't seem like it. At least I can't find any videos that suggest that.
I mean, does he allude to his story through his own
The
empathy?
history of the secret space program, but here it is, an hour and it's like 2 hours long. So there is some, but I guess I'm sorry, what was your question?
Oh, I was asking if he relates to his own story through like empathy, like trying to empathize with others. Like, oh god, yeah, I remember the psionic katanas. It was awful. Uh, like, is he
Uh
pitching it that way?
from what I've seen, no. I should have watched his YouTube videos for this. So I apologize. I didn't do my full research, but I think reading this book was was a battle in itself. Um I did watch Oki's video though, because his video is actually entertaining, and it's kind of funny at one point, like because Oki recorded his meditation with James, and James is like, oh, do you know what you were in a past life, like do you have any idea? And Oki's like, I think I was the black samurai Sasuke, and James goes, oh cool, I was a gladiator. Just like that. So it's like,
Oh, sick, dude. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and then Oki was like, "Oh, right on, man." And like they talk about it like it's this cool thing, like it's. But at the end of the day, they're slaves, but they're acting like it's like this cool thing, and I think that's part of what pisses me off too, is that this is meant to be this like super traumatic, like terrible thing that's happening to these people, but then they're like, "But I was this cool badass gladiator who did this shit and this and that, and like I got to kill all these cool insects and vampires and shit." It it's just really dumb. I,
Reptilians are the devil, but the devil's a whole lot of fun.
that's what it feels like it's saying to me. It just feels like,
I think
I
I'd
don't
rather
know.
be an eager beaver demon seeker.
I think so.
I agree.
Send the
We
demons
here
my
at
way.
Strange Ride and Occult Confessions are eager beaver demon seekers.
We've picked a team.
I mean, that's all I have to say about it. Is there anything else that you guys would like to say?
No.
I don't know how to properly end this, because like I feel a little guilty now that I didn't watch more of his YouTube channel.
I won't hold it against you. You did not, in this conversation, convince me to do it. So,
Okay, so I feel like I don't normally end Strange Ride episodes so loosey-goosey like this. Like, I feel like I like to have a conclusion, but this topic has definitely been a real challenge for me, and I feel like it's kind of important to show how much of a challenge it's been for me in a way, because everything else that I've researched on this channel so far is stuff that I've loved and had a blast researching, where this is just, oh my God, I obviously, you can tell throughout the whole episode, I feel like I'm just lost for words most of the time, but anyway, I did still feel really guilty that I feel like I didn't do my part as a researcher by researching and watching more of James Rank's videos. So I decided to go back, and not fully by myself, with some encouragement from Rob. He didn't make me, but he was like, if you really feel that guilty about it, go watch his videos and then make a post edit thing. So that's what I did. I did only watch one, but I watched one 2-hour video, and it was on the Super Soldier Talk channel, and it's called Super Soldier Talk: History of the Secret Space Program. And I wanted to see how, not accurate, but like how much the book that I read and James Rank's lore lined up. And I found it really interesting that watching James Rank talk about it, it seems to suggest that the Nazis did split and become, the Fourth Reich became like these people that flew into space and were fighting the reptilians and the evil cabal and shit. So it's almost like the Nazis are like the good guys once they go to space. But the book that I read suggests that it's the opposite, where the Nazis, like, the reptilians always planned for the Third Reich to fall, and the Nazis were going up into space because that was part of the plan, was that they were going to help the reptilians take over, like, the entire galaxy. So I think it just adds to my point where it's like, there's just no actual established lore or logic to this conspiracy theory. And it really just feels like it depends on who's telling the story gets to determine what the rules are. So since I'm the person telling the story at the moment, I get to determine what the rules are. And so I'm going to say everything I said was correct. And and try fact checking me. You can't, because there is like no way to research this. It feels impossible to do so. And I have somehow managed to do this. So I guess I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it's so difficult. And I actually, like, I tried finding videos where James Rank talked about his experience in the secret space program, because that was what Luke and Rob told me that they were the most interested in hearing about. I couldn't find it. I couldn't find anything. And I think I realized why at the end of this 2-hour-long video. And it's because at the end of this 2-hour-long video, at the start of it, actually, let me say, he mentions, he's like, yeah, some of the programs that I'm going to talk about today, I was a participant in. And I was like, oh, great. Is he going to talk about his life at all in this video? Well, no, he's not. And he didn't. He talks about it at the very, very end, where he shows you his book called Lone Wolf. And he's like, if you want to read my book, it's $30, and this is where I share my life experiences in the secret space program. And I'm like, there it is. It just is, in a way, it's a money grab, a way to gatekeep information, and to, I don't even know, like, I guess like I said, to keep themselves the most special people in the room. And once I saw him say that, I was like, yeah, no, I'm done. Like, I'm not researching this guy anymore. This guy doesn't deserve any more attention. Neither does the secret space program or anything. Although I will say that some of the things that I did learn in that video, there were three things in particular that I learned that I thought were hilarious. So one was that, like, George Bush Sr. or something, he is what the Curious George books are based off of, because he kept trying to steal information from Nikola Tesla and give it to the Nazis. And so that's how the Curious George books came to be, is that George was meant to be George Bush trying to give secrets to the Nazis. Like, that's about like 22 minutes into that video, if you want to go listen to James explain it himself. But my favorite parts, for sure. So one, I was watching, and it was him sitting in this like conference hall at a table, and he was just reading off a PowerPoint pretty much this entire 2 hours. Like, he did have little tidbits and stuff like that, but he didn't get up and walk around. You know, like, you learn this in school, that when you read a PowerPoint, you're not supposed to read directly off the slides because that's super boring. Well, he didn't learn that, apparently. So that's basically what he did for 2 hours. So the video was incredibly boring. But on one of his slides is a still, excuse me, is a still from the video game Life is Strange of the character Max. I think that was her name. He was trying to say that the Life is Strange video game is based off of actual things, like it was real life, because of the time travel and stuff in it. And it's in a different parallel universe. That story actually happened. And this video game is trying to tell us that this stuff is possible. Like, I loved that video game. So I was like, oh, wow. Well, actually, I wouldn't want that story to be true, because that story was one of the saddest stories I've ever played. But anyway, that was interesting. But what gets even better is then there's another slide, and the Umbrella Corporation is on it. And I'm like, hold on a second. Is that not the evil scientist from Resident Evil? And he goes, yes, the Resident Evil games are based off of real events that happen in an alternate reality. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's just, but he didn't even say the games. I think he said the movie. So it's not like they even, I don't know. I just think it's a really interesting thing, because it feeds into, again, how much these conspiracy theorists love Hollywood. Like, they like the Resident Evil movies. They like the Life is Strange video game, of all games. There's that, too. I think it's all just bullshit. And I'm exhausted. I'm done researching this. I did take a moment to stop and think about why it makes me so angry after watching this video, and I got very, very heated again. For people, I feel like I do it on this podcast, but for people who don't, like, who know me in real life, they would know that, like, I get wound up pretty easily, and once I'm angry, it stays for a while. And so I took a moment to, like, breathe and say to myself, okay, well, like, let's really look into this. Like, why does the secret space program make me so angry? And I think that the main reason is that these people can just get up in front of a crowd and say whatever they want. Like, he just goes up in front of these people and is like, yeah, Resident Evil's real. It just happened in an alternate universe. And meanwhile, here I am, sitting here feeling guilty because I feel like I didn't do enough research into properly trying to explain what these people believe. And he's just up there being like, oh, these video games are real. This just in a different alternate reality, and time travel's real, and yeah, all this other fucking crazy bullshit. Doesn't even try to explain it at all. And I think that's the core of my issues. One of the core issues I have with this conspiracy theory is that there's, yeah, like, people like Rob and stuff, like, they take this time to read all these crazy, like, academic articles and books, all these things, and, like, we try to give out the most accurate stories that we can. And these assholes can just get up and just be like, yeah, this is a thing. Proof? No, there's no proof. Just take my word for it. And I think that, in the end of the day, really, really pisses me off. Especially, too, on top of all the other stuff that I said, where it's like they're trying to act like they're superheroes and that they're the most special people in the room. They're the main characters. That's my piece. I'm done talking about the reptilians and the secret space program. Hopefully for good. We'll be back to more fun things at the end of June. I'm very, very excited to talk about. We are talking about the events that happened on the closing day of Splash Mountain in Walt Disney World. Now, that might not sound interesting, but trust me, it's insane, like how people reacted on the last operating day of this ride. It's amazing. It's so fascinating. And it will be Strange Ride's 1-year anniversary coming up this month too, which is unbelievably exciting. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, confessors, for jumping on over here and listening. I hope you guys want to stick around and listen to some of our other silly things. It's really fun getting to talk to Rob about all this like pop culture stuff and everything. Part of the reason why I even made this podcast was so he'd have to sit there and listen to me talk about all these pop culture things that I want to talk about. So it works. It's fun. But yes, thank you, everybody, so much for listening. And thank you so much for putting up with this episode and my insane ramblings and trying so hard to decipher this stuff. The voice of Len Caston was done by Andrew Mims. Thank you so much for riding along with us. Please watch your step as you exit and remember to take all personal belongings with you.